So guys, we're just going to do a very quick introduction, just a quick, your name and a little bit about yourself and the film that you worked on, and then we're going to get into the questions. So Craig, we're going to start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So just your name and a little bit about yourself.
This will be short. Craig, I'm the writer-director of Barry vs. the Bin Man, and it was the winner of the inaugural Westmeath Film Award last year. I collaborated with Western Front, who were a lovely crowd from Sligo, and that's
brilliant.
Basically.
Perfect. And you're a local man yourself?
I am. I'm from Mullingar.
Fantastic. Round of applause for Craig for being from Mullingar. And Joseph, now yourself.
That's the first time that's ever happened.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Joe Riley and I'm from Dublin, and I'm the writer and producer of Blurred Vision, and that was part of the Collage Dulig BA in film and TV production, and we filmed that this time last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll go next then. Hey everyone, I'm Shane W. Brennan. I'm the writer-director of Flutter. A little bit about me. I have a small production advertising company. Flutter is my second film, both self-funded, and kind of it was based on some insights that I've experienced working in advertising with regards to a very particular sector. So I decided to highlight it.
No prizes for which sector?
No.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Greg. I'm writer-director of Hereunder. It was my graduation film, and I'm also from Mullingar. So,
oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, I didn't know that. That was for Mullingar as well.
Hi, so my name is Maggie Ryan, so I was a producer on Missing, and I guess just a little bit about that. So Maura Foley, who would have been the writer-director and our lead actress, we had built a relationship with through her, I guess, acting in many of our projects, and she came to us with a short that she had written herself during COVID that we said was brilliant. She had actually a different director attached, and their vision wasn't quite matching, and we said to Maura, would she not give it a go directing herself, considering that she seemed to have this very strong vision, and that's where it came from. But we were very lucky. We had a really, really strong team, I think, to support Maura in that. But again, we'll have some questions, I guess.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Maggie. And Polly wasn't able to join us today, unfortunately. No worries. Fantastic. So thank you all so much for coming down. This is great to get so many filmmakers down. I think... Well, just briefly before we get into the questions, I think I can speak for everyone when I say that all those films were pretty stellar. Or am I speaking for myself? I don't know. No, I think there's a few nodding heads there. Oh, we're doing another clap. Oh, why not? Let's put another clap in. Okay. And the judges and I tend to try and find a through line and a kind of a theme that runs through it. And we kind of realized that the theme this year, we always find it post facto. So we never go into it with an idea. We always find the idea after we find the films. And I think the theme this year was neighbours. I kind of think that kind of came through. Last year it was shame. So we're getting slightly more positive. But let's get right into it. Craig, we're coming to you first. And I did warn you about this, but my first question is, why?
I had nothing better to do that week.
Oh, that's actually fair enough.
So, yeah, why
You are from Mullingar after all.
I'm from Mullingar, yeah. Round of applause. Yeah.
No, not this time.
Why? The inception of the idea for the film is a strange one. It's actually, people don't believe me, but it is loosely based on a true story. About a friend of mine who had a bit of a barney with his bin collectors. Now, it's not a documentary. I dressed it up quite a bit, but as a result of making the film now, none of my friends tell me anything, because they're just going to think that I'm going to make a film out of it. But the why kind of obviously the film award came up, so it would have been lunacy to not try and apply for it, and it all just kind of aligned that way.
Amazing. Yeah. That was supposed to be a joke question. You answered it very well, so I have to give you that.
I do that a lot.
I know, that's fair enough. I can see. I think one thing that really stuck out to me about that film was like it had a great cast, great actors. I'm just wondering, did you work with them regularly to try and find out those characters, or did you have that fully formed in your head going into the script?
Strangely enough, the neighbour character was not fully formed. I worked with John to kind of he basically formed that. The neighbour character on paper has all of the actions are already there, but he kind of gave it depth, and he wanted to add kind of things to him. He was like, oh, well, what if the neighbour actually kind of fancies Barry? You know, and that kind of informs the relationship, and it's kind of like, oh, he only hit me because he liked me kind of vibe. You know,
to get his attention.
Yeah, playground stuff. Regarding Barry, I always wanted him to be kind of the villain in his own story, and I always get a great bit of enjoyment from people's reaction when I'm watching it with people who are watching it for the first time, to that shot of him standing in the driveway with the bin there, and I hear the laughter because I know what's coming next.
Yeah.
You know, and it was that scene that was so important for me to make people kind of understand just how damaged and a bit broken that Barry is as a character. He was the villain in his own story. A lot of it is in his head, and working with Graham on that aspect was, you know, good as well. We didn't want him to we didn't want it to just be about a guy running after a bin lorry in his loungewear.
Yeah,
basically.
Absolutely. And actually, that's a very good point, because it is a comedy film, but there's some serious underlying themes there around mental health, around loss. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Personally?
No, in the film, the context of the film.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, it's a breakup movie. You know, the guy has kind of lost his girlfriend. She has left him for another man. And I think by the end of the film, you kind of understand why. Because, I mean, the state of them, really. But yeah, no, there are kind of underlying kind of mental health themes, and that taking those minor things that wouldn't really be a big deal, and when someone is going through a bad time, they blow them completely out of proportion. And once they commit to that line, they tend not to back down. You know,
it's kind of like a runaway train.
Yeah, exactly, runaway train. You know, that, you know, it just can't be stopped. So yeah, that was kind of adding bits of layers to both the characters.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you very much, Craig. We're going to give you a break now from the questions. Joe, I'll come to you next, if that's okay.
Sure.
So Blurred Vision is one of two student films on tonight's program. Did that bring its own kind of unique challenges to writing the script? Obviously low budget, you had the crew, but inexperienced crew. Did that inform the script in any way as a writer producer?
Yeah, I mean, I'd done one before that a long time ago, and I kind of learned the hard way that you have to cut your cloth to your measure in terms of what you can and can't accomplish. So I deliberately made it a mockumentary. So if there was any mistakes with cameras or anything or sounds, it's just part of a documentary. It's fine, you know. Yeah.
Very clever.
I also made it blurry, or made the main character blurry. I mean, originally I was just working on my editing, and I was trying to blur out a particular character, and I said, God, this would be so much easier if the guy was just blurred. And then it's like the light bulb went off. But it actually did come in really handy, because I don't know if anyone noticed, but there's actually two actors who play the lead character, Brian. And because the main character, or the main actor rather, was unavailable for one of the days, and we just didn't have time, so we just had to get a stand in and just blur him, and it just kind of worked out I guess that's yeah, it's a precursor to what AI is going to do in the future.
Yeah.
But
We're
yeah,
all
so,
obsolete, lads.
yeah, so things like that. Yeah, you can kind of work around things. Sometimes you can actually use your disadvantages as advantages like that. You can just, if you come with a problem like that as a filmmaker, don't come at it head on. Come at it like at an angle, if you know what I mean. And just try and, whatever the problem is, just turn it on its head, and a solution should present itself.
100%. Turn that diamond into a shiny diamond.
Turn that frown upside down.
Damn right. That's just an upside down frown. It's not a smile at all. No, that's super interesting, because it's funny actually. Today at the networking event, you know yourself, the last film was a mockumentary, and actually it was very similar. It's just the easiest thing to make, and it really saves you a lot of time in terms of like because not everyone has access to funding, for example.
Oh yeah,
So-
we had no money.
yeah.
No.
That's generally the case with most films. No money, but did you work closely with the director actually on the script, because it was a separate director? You didn't direct it.
No, that was done by my colleague Carl Short, and he's also a very good editor, so he helped out with the special effects and what have you. So yeah, we just kind of complemented each other on that.
And did he influence the script at all, or was it entirely your own departments?
Oh yeah. I mean, we took from each other. We built it. He would have worked, I think, more exclusively on the trailer. I don't know if anyone saw that, but that was quite successful as well. So everyone collaborated. You know,
Was there a bit of improv with some of the comedy?
Yeah, I guess so. We just kind of roll with it, and but I think most of the actors, like we didn't really have too much time for rehearsal, so we just had to take what we could get, really. And but yeah, we were delighted with the performances. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We'll give you a break now as well. Shane, we'll come to you next. Flutter, fantastic film, well done. One location, predominantly one actor. Very difficult to make that interesting, but I think you pulled it off. What were some of the narrative elements that you kind of delved into to make that film work and entertain and keep us engaged?
Yeah, I think it was very interesting. I set out to make a very simple film, you know? And when you sit down and kind of, I'm obsessed as a filmmaker with lies, and kind of the lies we tell ourselves, the lies we tell the world, which then caused me to look at the world around me and people in it, and where am I kind of seeing lies. And gambling was a place from both sides, be that people who are gambling and maybe lying about it, and the actual industry themselves, who do an awful lot of kind of problematic gambling practices, particularly with online in the recent years. So a big thing for me was the music and the editing was going to be huge, as well as Tig's here, the lead. His performance was, you know, it's a lot to ask.
Oh, Tig,
Tig's here, yeah.
Tig, do you want to come down? Okay. Everyone look at Tig.
Tig was like, "You're going to make a speech or something, eh?" No, but like to ask Tig to carry the whole thing, you know, it's a lot. We had a lot of conversations about like what we wanted to try and get out of this, where the character was coming from, what he's hiding, what are we not telling the audiences. A big bit of it, there were two kind of things, I guess, more technical things that we tried to apply for. One was ground the camera, right? Camera only really moves twice. One, when he gets up to get the second card, and two, it's the slow dolly at the end, right? For the realization to reveal the room is completely empty. And all of that is completely in his space, and he's completely alone, ruining his own life, right? Well, a few people's lives. Two is the introduction of the numbers. Because when I started looking at the advertising sector, and you realize online gambling in particular, because there is no tangible transaction of walking into a bookies or the money changing hands and getting that dopamine release.
Easy.
It's so easy. Instead, it's numbers going up and down. It mightn't even be real, you don't know, but you react like it is. So therefore I wanted to include that for the audience to kind of get that internal monologue. It's almost like that thing when someone tells you they've won, they never tell you what they lose. So I wanted the audience to be able to kind of travel on that journey with him, particularly when his wife comes back in and it starts kind of flashing. So you're like, oh yeah, he's like those two characters in it as well. They never cross. They never meet. They're very distant. He's not there. You know what I mean? He's constantly thinking about gambling, really, you know? And then as well, a big thing I noticed when I was looking a lot into gambling advertising, across the globe is this kind of introduction of high-paced adrenaline drums. It's all over the place because what they're trying to do is going to get your heart rate up and get you excited about this. You know what I mean? You're going to win, yada, yada, yada. So we were like, well, let's score the whole thing to that type of beat. And every time there's an interaction with it, we kind of, the audience knows, we tease them with the little snare, or we tease them when we bring them through. So they were kind of the different, and the cut edit was a big thing. I really wanted to get, I got a few of those laughs and kind of gasps when it kept jumping, you know? They were kind of, that was the logic behind it.
Absolutely, it was fantastic because
Thank you.
I think the introduction of the fourth wall and he's playing the music himself, and it's not really a fourth wall break, really, is it? It's actually just his inner monologue.
No, it's his internal monologue because it came from a few different places. I was like, I just love the idea of kind of, instead of it having him just talk to himself, I was like, let's make this feel like he's made a production in his head. He was like, I'm the hero of this story. I'm going to win €1 million tonight, and everything's going to be perfect. So it was that kind of nod to our own industry and looking at it. And I was delighted when we realized I could put him on the drums, and I had to get my little brother's drums. Like, you wouldn't have noticed, but he's actually holding a wooden spoon instead of one drumstick because we couldn't find the second one. And it was the last shot of the whole film. And we were like, just get it, you'll be fine. And there is a kind of fifth wall because the screen he's looking at while on the drums is a screen of himself being filmed being on the drums. And we were like, we'll put that in, see if anyone noticed. No one noticed. But no, it's kind of just to be that, like, and there's little things in that, I think, in that interaction is kind of the only bit of honesty you get from the character. You know what I mean? See you on the next one. You're doing great, just lie. It's grand. You know what I mean? There where you're seeing his only real truth that he shows to the screen, to the camera, is when he's talking to himself, even though he is lying to himself again, you know.
And actually, just kind of on that as well, that kind of lying and that the way that you weave humor into that script.
Yeah.
Was that risky at all? Because it's quite a dark topic, to be honest.
So the reason I was when we were actually going through the pacing, because I was talking to Ty quite about it, I was like, here people will still laugh at you. Then it's going to get more serious. Then you're going to scream into a pillow, and they'll get a bit of a giggle out of that. And then we'll shock them with this. Like, the reason I wanted to lean into humor, because once again, when you look at the way advertising or the way gambling is advertised, it's Peter Crouch having the crack. It's being fun. It's like, not serious. We're fun. Yeah. And it was like, there is humor surrounded in that whole industry. So I assumed the audience would naturally, with the drums and the pace and the kind of Ty's amazing facial expressions, I was like, we're going to get them. They won't know how serious it's going to be until the end. And then that's when you get that kind of hang. Because, you know, it's all the giggles are 50 quid. Then 600 quid, you kind of see a shift. Some people are still find it funny. And then it drops, you get gasps at the 1,200, then you get a bit of a giggle with the screen because they don't know where you're going with it. But it's all front loaded, all your humor, you know?
Yeah. And it's actually I just realized it's really interesting because it's 3 very different approaches to humor, to comedy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fascinating. And we'll come back on that actually, I think, later on when we get chatting to you. But thank you very much.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you. Okay, Greg, it's your turn to be in the hot seat. How are you feeling? Great job.
Feeling good.
Good stuff. This is a student film as well from IDT, my old stomping ground. Shane mentioned music a lot and how important music was to his film. That's my fourth time watching your film, I think. And I realized for the first time how incredible that soundtrack is. Did you work with the composer early on? Or was that just by chance you just got a great composer in the end? Or how that?
So my friend Ruben Harvey composed it, and he's just like, we're so lucky to have him. Like, he's so talented. It's ridiculous. Like, but yeah, so he had composed a track for another film, and he'd spent a few days on it, and they didn't want it. They didn't use it. And then I heard it, which was the track we used, and I was like, oh, can I steal that? And we slotted it in, and it worked perfectly. And then, yeah, we were just able to like the scene of them going down the hall, like we blocked that specifically to time with the music. And then I was sitting beside him as well as he was scoring the scene in the gallery, and how he was like lining up every beat and like preceding each line would have a shift in emotion or direction, and he was preceding that with a specific note that felt like that. And it was just like, it was like 3 a.m, but it was like electrifying just sitting beside him doing that. And then he'd like resolve it at the end and then come in with that big, and it was so much fun just seeing him do that. But yeah, like he's like, he I think he scored like, out of the 7 graduation films, he scored like 6.
Wow.
And yeah, everyone was
Busy
dying
guy.
to get him. Yeah.
And that other film
he directed
didn't
one
want,
as well. So.
He directed one,
Yeah.
and that other film didn't want his soundtrack.
No.
Their loss.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of both. Then it was a bit of luck and a bit of just hard graft getting that in there.
Yeah. So yeah, the main piece that was taken from that other film, they didn't use it, but it was reworked a bit for this film.
Yeah.
But the main kind of idea behind it was there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Another thing that really, well, actually 2 things that really stuck out to me about your film. One was phenomenal performances, especially from Owen. Great guy. But the use of color in your film was very interesting. A lot of whites, reds, and yellows. I just kind of want to touch on that. Was there anything about the color theory behind that? Was there specific emotions assigned to different colors, or was it just that looks cool?
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of the red, we shot in the Mart Gallery in Rathmines, and they have red doors, so we kind of took advantage of that and continued that when we were using it as our closet door. And I really liked the red door in Insidious. I thought it was like a door to another world, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at. It was kind of this door to not a hell, but like a corporate hell. And then the ochre, that was trying to get at, like, I had a whole backstory that behind the color, but basically the character, Owen's character, had kind of gone through this emotional regression in the like financially hard times, back to a time when he used to paint sunsets. So he kind of found himself just going away from his normal paintings and just trying to surround himself with this happy color. And so he started painting everything ochre. And so that's also when Killian's character then starts sniffing ochre as he emotionally regresses as well. So that was the theory behind that. And then the kind of pale faces, I stole that from Roy Anderson. I love the way
It's always good to steal.
Yeah. I love the way he paints his characters' faces and just makes them look like they're dead bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just stole that idea.
It's very interesting, actually. In the early days of silent film, they used to paint them blue because the skin contours wouldn't show up in the early cameras, if you believe it or not. Well, one type of early camera. Thank God they fixed that. Otherwise, it'll all be like blurred vision and you know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well done. So, Mags, tell us, you produced, and was it just produced? Just produced. Missing. Very different to the other lineup that we have tonight. Well, actually, every film was very, very different to every other film. But tell us, how did the director approach you? Did you go to the director, or did the director come to you, or how did that work?
So we have a production company, and we've been kind of kicking around for the last 3 years, and we had worked with Maura as an actor a number of times. And then my business partner, Paddy, is a director as well, not just of the company, but a film director. And there was a kind of collective a couple of years ago in Dublin, whereby actors and directors would come together and just kind of, spitball ideas for the duration of the evening. So we knew Maura kind of initially through that. So we knew her as an actor. We'd worked with her a number of times as an actor. So I guess she felt, that she could come to us with this idea. And kind of, as I said, she came to us with the idea. Again, there was a bit of tension with her vision and the director that she had attached. And I guess like anybody who's writing their first film, or it's their first, they're insecure about their right to own it and to make certain choices and decisions. And we saw the pitch deck from that director, who again we work with and know. I would have produced a few of her films as well. So it was kind of a conversation where we said, well, look, Maura, if you want to go for this, and if you want to actually give it a go, and if directing is something that you're interested in, because again, not everyone wants that path, and she did. She said eventually she would want that path, and we said, well, it eventually can start tomorrow, really. And we started pitching it to different funders. So actually, that was Offaly were the third county council we pitched to. and the feedback from the others, we kept getting into interview, we kept getting to shortlist, and there was always something at the end. And a lot of the reason that we weren't getting it was because she was a first-time director, and the argument was, how could we back her? And I said, well, you're county council money, so you should you should be backing first-time directors. So our argument was, well, we're trying to test it. Like, so we've I think at this point probably produced a film in every one of the county councils. We've got Screen Ireland. And what I said was, if you give us the money, we will get the best team. We'll get a really, really good team. And I think you can see and hear that we got a great team just on the composition and the sound design. So we had Rob Flynn, who was freelance and is now in-house in one of the big post-production houses. And we had Michael Fleming on composition. And very early on, in terms of Maura's vision for the film, she knew what the soundtrack she needed. She knew things that are not coming with a writer and a script, but they were coming with what a director envisages for that. So I guess for us, a little bit of the mentality around shifting the dynamics in terms of film and who has access and who has a right to speak and all of that is, I know it sounds like a simple thing, but like the right to fail. So it was like, you come with a big idea, this could be a disaster. So how do you make sure it's a learning experience? And it's obviously far beyond a learning experience. Maura's now, we have a TV show that we're pitching with her. We have another short film. We've gone into Storyland with her. And I guess from the perspective of, as a production company, we want people who have good stories. We want people who have interesting stories. And for us, going through the process of making a short film is a way to test out, is this a relationship? Because if you're going to work with somebody, you're committing to 2-3 years in that person's life. You want to like them, but you also want to respect them and their vision. So I guess that was the path to it getting made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a great conversation there around the democratization of filmmaking and how do you get funding to the right people and give the right people the right chance, because there's only so many spots, isn't there? Very cool, very interesting. I mean, you've already said a lot there that I'm trying to think, is there another question I can ask you that you haven't already covered? But yeah. I would say, yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm going to move on. No. Yes, the set design, especially when we get into that other house, is beautiful. Who did your set design?
So the set design is a woman called Eben Oladeru. So she's Irish-Nigerian. And we met Eben 2 years previously. So we're shooting an Irish language film in the Burren in Clare in November with a heavily pregnant director who already had a toddler. And our production designer pulled out 2 weeks beforehand. And again, as has come up already, filmmaking is just problem solving. And somebody recommended this young woman, Eben. We met her and her partner, Dylan Murphy. So they tend to work as a team, which is great. And like, they came on, they had very little prep time, and they did an unbelievable job. So again, we're in Clare in the Burren. The director is local. It was a great line from her father, who's a farmer, who saw everybody as taking the absolute piss except the production design team. He was like, they're working their asses off. And pretty much from that experience, that short film's called Rawa. We literally said to Eben and Dylan, you're our people. Like, whatever you want to do, we will back you. So when Maura came with it, we were obviously saying to her, we can meet a lot of different production designers, and she had people that she would like to work with. And we introduced her to Eben, because I guess a film like that, it what can seem simple ends up being quite difficult, because it's one thing to create a whole new world, because you can start from scratch. It's another thing to use a very basic world. So one of the biggest things for us was actually locations, because we needed to find, the way the script was written was like, we needed to find a house that literally looked directly into another house. And obviously you could cheat that, but we knew if we cheated it would look cheap. So it was like we needed to create all of those things. And
so you built a house.
So we built a house with the money from Offaly County Council. So we were very lucky to find those two houses, and then start negotiations. But I guess the colour palette, that kind of like grey, kind of like coming out of the Celtic tiger. We were also, just a note on, we were very conscious of not making the husband and father a bad partner. like a little overworked, a little unaware, but not a bad partner. And then that notion of like this house that was kind of cold, the beginning of settling in and the beginning of being lived in. And then the contrast with, again, these two men that, again, are not bad men, but they're men that if you are sleep deprived, you know, and new to a community and unsure, and actually that particular, just watching it on the screen again, was laughing, that walkthrough where she, you know, the camera pushes in, so you go from outside to inside in this beautifully smooth moment, and then that was a pain in the absolute hole to shoot. She had to jump a wall, like to make that clean shot. It's like, you know, we're going around, I'm hooshing her over a wall, the monitor kept falling off, the monitor is beeping at the end in terms of the batteries going, and again, we look back at the take and we're like, kind of works, like you know, we're not going to take that out. And I mean, again, Dylan and Evan's ability to just find the maddest things to put in that house, and to create texture, and because we did want it to feel real, and that the you know, the Virgin Mother and the lights is a little over the top, but we all loved it. You know, that walk up the. But
you still find a Virgin Mother in every house, you know. I'm telling you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the pheasant. Oh well, actually, maybe not the pheasant. But no, thank you very much. That's fantastic. In a moment, I'm going to open up to the audience. So if anyone has any questions, start thinking of them. It takes about a minute and a half to come up with a question, so I'm going to give you the time to think about that now. Tig is actually a local man as well, isn't that right, Shane? Tig is from Offaly, man. Oh, not local at all. Do you have your visa in order? Do you? I hope you do. Oh, good stuff. Oh, you're fine then. That's grand. And I suppose two big takeaways to take away from this is that if you are missing a drumstick, use a wooden spoon. And if you're missing your main actor, just use a different actor. Apparently it doesn't matter. Any other thoughts?
Face.
Just don't touch his face. Yeah, that's right. Put a mask on him. Any other final thoughts, Craig? Greg, Shane, guys, any thoughts before we go to the crowd? Any nuggets of knowledge? I know you have a nugget of knowledge.
Well, I just, because it seemed to resonate with a few people, just that the thing of, say with more, like you can go and pitch your project and people are going to say no. Someone else might say, just if you think you've got a good idea, you know, keep going, and it's already been said, you know, you can make something with no money, which I would often say is easier than making it with some money, because at least with no money, that's what you got. So yeah, I think somebody saying no is not always a no. There is the potential to go to somebody else, I think.
And actually, as the man behind the Born Supremacy said, when they moved up to bigger budgets, they actually started doing less, because in the lower budgets, they couldn't afford the people that told them they couldn't do stuff in the lower budgets. So that's why sometimes it's actually advantageous.
Freedom. A lot more freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, anyone in the crowd that would like to jump up with a question? I see some voices. I see some tentative hands. No. We're gonna wait here. Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
It's not really a question. It's just, I guess, two observations that I liked. So one was from the film The Blurry. I found it hilarious now when you explained why you used mockumentary as a genre. But when I saw in a couple of scenes, I saw like hanging dead cats in the scenes, and that just pushed all my nerve buttons, because I just, I couldn't stand the dead cat in the scene. But now I understand why that might be the, you know,
that was totally deliberate.
and then I also loved how you said you use a spoon for the, like, your creativity reminded me of maybe you know them Irish lads, Foil Arms and Hog. They're YouTubers. Your approach and your sense of humor really reminded me of those guys.
That's a great compliment. Thank you.
I really love them. So for me, you're the hero now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Guys, any other questions? Yeah? I think people are dying for a cup of tea.
Well, I'm actually going to steal your question, David. You alluded to kind of that there are 3 comedies in this, and you all approach it so differently. So, yeah, a comedy as a genre is such a difficult thing to get right, and, you know, putting in tropes and subverting them. So I was wondering how you addressed kind of comedic writing and making a comedy.
So I suppose Craig will come to you first, and we'll go to the two lads. Is that okay?
I found it especially difficult because I'm not funny, generally speaking. But comedy wouldn't be something that it wouldn't be the kind of film that I imagined I'd be making. I always veered more towards dramas and thrillers, and the previous short that I didn't have any humor in it at all. So I suppose how I approached it was just steal from the best. I mean, stylistically, the way I wanted to shoot and edit the film was kind of an Edgar Wright kind of, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz kind of way, the quick cuts, and there's a few visual gags. Obviously, it's implied that he's wearing his girlfriend's clothes. His boxers have love hearts on them. He wears her slippers and the red velvet dressing gown. All very romantic clothing. And beyond that, for me, it was kind of just trusting the actors, because I knew both of the actors really, really well. So I trusted them to be able to let loose basically on each other. And yeah, I kind of just made sure it didn't get too far out of hand, because sometimes improvisation can go a little bit too far. But yeah, that was kind of my approach to it.
Right, thanks, Craig.
Well, I agree with my esteemed colleague that theft is best. I did see a clip, some of you probably saw it also, from Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who made South Park, and they were discussing how they come up with their scripts in record time. Like they're under extreme pressure to produce their cartoons, and they do it by means of they break down the script, and what they say is every idea, every scene has to follow on from a previous scene. Like say for example, Cartman wants a Nintendo Wii, therefore he decides to freeze himself, and in some bizarre scheme, so that in the future he will wake up and everyone will have Wii's and they'll be really cheap, and therefore this happens, and therefore something else happens. But the problem is that his friend Butters is supposed to wake him up, but he forgets, so Cartman ends up waking up in the year 3000, and no one has a Nintendo Wii. So the idea is just to keep that momentum going, and don't worry about too much about exposition or anything like that. Like if you get into exposition, it kind of loses its momentum. So if we just focus on starting off an idea, and therefore this happens, and therefore this happens, but then that happens, and therefore that happens, but, and then this happens, and that's their idea of comedy, and it works for them. So that's what I stole.
Yeah, for me, I guess coming from advertising, I'm used to having 20 or 30 seconds. And it's an industry over the last 2 decades have got less and less funny. So you're fighting to try and put humor into ads. It's coming up now. Again, there was a lot of motion there for about 10 years, thanks to John Lewis. But I find from 8 minutes is a long time, hence why we use the edit so abruptly to do a lot of the humor for us in the actual, with the comedic beats. I think what is important sometimes with comedy is to give your audience an awful lot of respect. You know what I mean? I don't like to kind of necessarily force the joke down their throat. I think they can get there, or maybe they don't find it funny, and that's okay. I think silence is golden. I think kind of you hang yourself on your silence, and I think you see what's funny, see if you can get something visual, see if you can maybe go ludicrous, maybe not. Just give it breath. I like to give it breath, because something in the space of 10 seconds, something can go from being funny to sad, or sad to funny, just if you hold the camera. And I think, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's kind of, it's situational. It's just you're writing. You're just trying to figure out the story, and then in that, you find where you want to bring the audience. Be that using humor. It doesn't have to be necessarily so defined. You know what I mean? In the course of a day, you can be sad, you can be happy, you can be whatever. I think an audience is the same, and a film should be the same. And just one note. Beauty is blurry is beauty is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I want that poster. I literally, when I saw that, I was like, that's genius. I hope that answers.
Thank you very much, guys. I think a third moral that we could probably take from this evening is to steal. So if any budding writers out there, we've got a question. I didn't even ask. Okay.
First, I just want to thank you for a wonderful evening's entertainment. But my question is, as young filmmakers, and you've already made movies, so for students who are coming out or young filmmakers who haven't got there yet, where would you advise them to go for funding? What are the options? What's your experience? You know, I know some of you had no funding and some of you had, and I heard County Council mentioned, but I'm just wondering what other options are there for young filmmakers to get funding?
Okay, who wants to take that question first?
I'll start. I'd say we all have an opinion on this. For me, yeah, that's no funding. Like, we've done funding now. As I said, we're more advertising, so we've only moved into shorts in the last 2 years. So we've applied for funding, but we don't like waiting around. So we ask for favors, freedom and favors. That's kind of what you do when you have no money. But we're going through that process now. There is a good bit of funding out there. You know what I mean? You just got to look for it. I think pretty much most counties have at least one thing going every year, you know, and even ones that don't, I seem to see them popping up more and more. I think if you're starting though, waiting would be tough for funding. You know what I mean? There's a lot you can do now without funding, in my opinion, just to get going. You know, because once you have something captured and you have something edited and something shown and an audience has seen, it's, as you kind of talked about with first-time directors, it's easier to get to the next step if you just go for it. Because sometimes I think we can be afraid of moving without someone backing us financially, but it's tough. But I think films can be made now quite neatly. But then there is a step up that is needed for funding. But my first recommendation would be grab a camera, I don't care what camera it is, and go film something. Write something and film it there. You know, that would be the recommendation.
Good stuff. Anyone else want to take that question, guys?
I guess just from like a production company perspective, like if there was young filmmakers that wanted to access funding, a lot of those fundings are attached to, you have to have a production company, and the reason for that is insurance and that are the two reasons. I mean, there's also, you know, you come with supports, but yeah, I think it depends on so many things. It depends on, is this filmmaker somebody who has gone to film school, i.e. do they have access to people who have skill sets? Do they have access to equipment? So, you know, yeah, we would be a production company that make films ideally when we have funding, because we want to pay people, but we also will, of a Friday, we have a script, send it out to a few people, go, hi, are you available? We have absolutely no money. We will pay you, we will insure you, but we got no money. And that's still going to cost us something. That will still cost you. Like there is no free, there is no film that costs nothing, because you still have to feed people, you still have to insure people. But favors makes the short film, like, so we had €10,000, which is more than a lot of people get. But with that €10,000, you are then kind of beholden to paying certain things in terms of your post, in terms of your grade, in terms of your, again, more money, more problems in some situations. But everybody that worked on that film worked well below their day rate. So like myself, the director, and the DOP did not take a fee. So there's no fee taken out of that. But the camera needs to get paid for, the locations need to get paid for. But I would say every single person that turned up to shoot, and every person who did post on that did not take anywhere near their. And the reason they do that is because they saw value in what they're doing. So I think you have to also decide, yeah, at this stage in your career, do you need to get paid or do you need to make something? I think the point about getting something out there so that like you have something as a callback. So when you're talking to somebody who does have money and they say, well, what do you make? You don't go, well, I make Spielberg, because you don't. You can say, well, I made this silly little short. I shot it on my phone with a few mates, but 2 minutes is enough for somebody to go, oh, you've got a sense of humor. You've got a sense of timing. You've got a sense of light. Like, it was interesting. Like the first thing I said to you was like the color and the sound on your film, which was exactly you know, those things will resonate with people. So I think it's, like, what do you want out of the film that you're going to make, and then kind of work backwards. So you might need the 10,000, you might need the 60,000, or you might go, I need a weekend and some favors, you know, and some, you know, soup or something.
Soup and sandwiches, that's what it all comes down to. Craig, do you want to address that question?
I think even just on the personal side of things as well as the business side of things, as with anything else in life, learning how not to make a film is as valuable as knowing how to make one. You know, I produced a feature nearly 10 years ago, and we had 10 grand, and it was the worst 3 weeks of my life. Yeah, you know, I think it was one of those things where everybody had 3 or 4 jobs, and they were often doing 2 of them simultaneously, and you do 6 days and it's 12 hours, 14 hours, sometimes 15 hours, depending on circumstances, and you're kind of just a little bit hollowed out by the end of it. Luckily the film kind of turned out okay. It was grand.
Is that the one you also had John Connors in that one as well?
Yes. Someone has pirated it and put it on YouTube if you want to watch it.
What's it called?
Monged.
There you go.
Monged, yeah.
Something to watch tonight.
Yeah. I learned a lot. Then I was 20 years old then, so I was a little bit, you know, wet behind the ears and things like that, and over enthusiastic, and being able to approach a project now and kind of just measure yourself and kind of pace yourself, as opposed to going hell for leather for 3 weeks, is vital as well. So that'd be just the personal side of things that I kind of think of.
Brilliant. Anyone else want to, or are you okay? Want to address that question? Or okay.
I mean, I'd nearly be asking the same question as you. I'm kind of in the same position now where I'm looking for my first bout of funding.
I'm just openly taking notes here, so.
Yeah. But I'm just going to relay advice I got, which I thought was brilliant advice, because, come out of film school, and I just had, you know where you want to go. We're in a strange position where we know exactly where we want to be, but we've no idea how to get there. Whereas most other people don't know where they want to be. So we're lucky, but we're unlucky. But the advice I was given by a producer was to go like regional funding, and then national funding, and then feature. And that was a direction. And I thought it was an achievable direction. So I suppose my next step would be regional.
Especially with like so many counties now taking up bursaries as well. There's a lot more opportunities out there.
Yeah, there's loads of funding schemes. So seems like it's achievable now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Joe, would you like to address that, or happy to leave it?
I remember a long time ago, I'm sure I'm not the only one, I read a book by Robert Rodriguez called Rebel Without a Crew, and he describes how he got funding for his feature film El Mariachi by donating blood and subjecting his body to various medical tests, but he came out with just enough money to make El Mariachi. Now, he had no crew, as the title of the book goes. So, you know, you really have to push yourself, and if you want to get funding, like, I'm not saying that you should donate body parts, but yeah, I mean, yeah. But there are ways. Now, I know we discussed theft, but I'm not saying you should steal the money. But there are ways.
Bank.
Okay. So yeah, you do have to be, in a sense, a hustler, and don't be shy about like if you really want to get this thing made. I mean, you have to approach people, and you know the worst thing they can say is no. So don't be shy and ask. That's all.
It's a panhandle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Oh, we got one more question. Is there anyone else who would like a question, or will we leave it on this one? One more after you. Okay, perfect. So we'll do 2 more questions.
Just as director of the RT All Ireland Drama Festival, I'd like to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you for being here. You are truly inspirational. because you need to look at what you needed to do to get those films made. You had an idea, you went for it. So congratulations on doing that. And wish you all of the best in the future. Also to say a big thank you to Brian Toolan and to David. David, absolutely fantastic job this evening. And to indeed all of the Drama Festival members and committee who are here this evening, who are supporting you as well. A big thank you to those. Keep doing what you're doing and keep living your dream. And you never know when we'll be seeing you again on the big screen. So well done, each and every one of you.
Hi guys. So a lot of us, we all learn on the job, and we learn from setbacks or mistakes or anything that comes up during filming. I did film in college, and I learned a lot from that. What came up for you in terms of from writing the script to finishing it in post production that you learned, that you took with you going forward? Learning, as in learning on the job, that kind of thing.
Who wants to go with that first?
I'll go for that. For me, it was self-imposed deadlines. So that was that really screwed me. So in a sense that when you're trying to set up what's the objective of the amount of effort I'm putting into this, right? And you're asking people like Ty to be part of something you're trying to create, and you're trying to say something, etc. Right? Sometimes you can then it lights a fire under you, and then once you've actually captured everything and you're trying to get it edited, and then you're like, okay, I need to set a date. No one else is setting that date. I'm setting that date, right? Because of our funding structure, which is non-funded, right? So this is ours. No one knows this film's happening until it's out. That really kicked us in the ass on this film. Whereas our first short film, we just made it, and then we figured out where it goes after that, right? This one, we had also obviously experienced that, and we were like, okay, let's have a strategy, once we're finished. And that then puts, I know I found myself, like what I learned a lot from this was then that unnecessary pressure then impacting creativity. So I ended up with different drafts. And then when you're asking favors, you're going back to an editor and be like, maybe I sat with you for 24 hours. I was like, I thought about it, let's change it. You're asking a lot of other people. And I think it kind of goes back to that point I said about comedy. It's even for yourself creatively, and making sure you're giving yourself, when possible, time to just process what you're doing, making sure you're still bringing your vision to life without setting some ridiculous expectation as to, well, it has to be here by June 18th, or it has to be here for this, or it has to be here for that. Because at the end of the day, if the deadline impacts you to the extent that no one's ever going to see the bloody thing, it's pointless then. You know what I mean? And I think that was a big learning for us on this film, was to make sure that we put in the right amount of effort. We had to kind of sit down in post-production and go, okay, let's just chill out here and let's just remove this false deadline, because the amount of effort that other people put in your film is as important for them to have the film be seen. Sometimes we can be very, your ownership as a writer-director can be like, this is my film, but it's not. Loads of people are involved, and therefore it's as important for them for it to be seen. So sometimes you got to check yourself and go, what makes this the best film possible? That could be an additional 2 months waiting for a certain grader because they're working on something else, and you want that grade, and you're like, that's okay. That was the big thing I took from it anyway.
Brilliant. And anyone else want to address that question? Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just kind of because it keeps coming up with that thing of like, so you didn't have a funder, so you have, but so that's a smart way approach to it. Versus we did have a funder, and our funder is a county council, who, for all intents and purposes, are supporting film but don't necessarily understand the process. So, for me, my biggest learning was expectations, and being very, very clear with my expectations. So, we might have I might get set a deadline that's a bureaucratic deadline that is the 23rd of November. Whereas as a filmmaker, I'm like, I don't need to deliver this film until 2 weeks before it needs to premiere in a cinema. So for me, why would I rush any element? And something I think that often happens if you're getting money from a source that doesn't understand the process of filmmaking. They think, well, once you've written it and you've shot it, you're 90% of the way there, but you're absolutely not, because your edit, those things like, you make your film 3 times, you write it, you shoot it, and then you edit it. And I mean, there's so many shots that we painstakingly spend time shooting that are on the cutting floor that will never make it. And then you have your color grade, you have your mix, and then so being able to upfront know what your plan is. So I would say still set your own deadlines, but communicate those deadlines to the people that are giving you money, because they won't give you all the money. And then also, if you're getting money from people, be very, very clear when they're giving you that money. So a lot of the funds that are available in Ireland will say, we'll give you 50% of the money at the start and 50% when you deliver. That's not possible. It's not possible to work like that. I need 90% at the start. You can hold maybe 5-10% at the end, but they will hold that money for as long as they can. If there's any delay, you're then delayed paying people, and that then delays the film. And I think you made a really good point, is the need to get the film on screen and in the best for everyone who worked in the film. That should be your goal, not meeting a deadline. So being able to push back against what can seem like this entity that has all control, going, well, I'm not going to deliver it on the 23rd of November because I can either deliver you a film, or on March 23rd, I could deliver you an award-winning film. And being able to value your work and value the time that people have given you and their skill set to push back. So I think, particularly with this film, just because we had such a quick turnaround with the shoot, the funder thought, oh, we're already out. I was like, oh, got a bit more time to go. So for me, the ability to push back a little, I think, and know where your boundary is, but it kind of, I guess.
Brilliant, thank you. Guys, anyone else? Are you happy enough? Joe?
I think it was kind of alluded to previously, but I think you need to check your ego a little bit. I'd be guilty in the past of being a prima donna when things weren't going my way, and I'd remonstrate with crew and what have you. But when you're at my level, at least, you're relying on these guys. A lot of them are doing you favors, or at least doing it for a very low price. So you really have to remember that it's a team sport, and obviously there's a guiding light and what have you, but just try to cut people as much slack as you can, and just remember you're probably going to work for them, and also reputation is very important. It's an old saying, but it takes a years to make, but only a minute to break, and so really just try and be nice to people, basically, and because you are going to be relying on them going forward. That's all.
It's good advice. As a first, actually, genuinely not funny bit of advice as well, is just be nice to people. Good, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That I'm saying. There's plenty of very good advice tonight, just to clarify. Cool. Anyway, Craig or Greg, you okay with that?
I mean, I think the thing I learned the most was in the writing. Like, yeah, the first draft of this was very different to the last draft, and yeah, because it's kind of it was dream logic. Like, the film is kind of set in this dream logic, and
surrealist.
Yeah, and I in writing that, I learned that something that works on paper is very different from something that works on the screen. And it's like, the architect can dream, but can the engineer make it stand? And I feel like that was what I learned, the process of, because we were really lucky that one of the exercises we did in college, which I thought was brilliant and learned loads from, was we'd shoot a scene from the script like months in advance, and just with any actors, just in a black room, and just see does the writing work, see does the blocking work, and then you'd cut the scene together and you'd be like, wow, this is really boring. It's like, yeah, it worked well on paper and it looks nice, but it's actually quite boring. And learned a lot from that, just the difference between how something will work on paper versus how something will work on the screen. Yeah.
Brilliant. Craig, anything to add there? Are you happy enough?
Fed crew is a happy crew.
Short and sweet.
I mean, yeah, it is that simple. If you're asking people to make a financial sacrifice because they believe in you or the project, you make sure that their stomachs are well looked after, because it's a small thing. And that's actually one of the things that when you were alluding to earlier, food is a massive amount of the budget. it's nearly half of it sometimes. You know, it's crazy, but it's that there's a reason for that. So
Brilliant. Yeah.
that's it.
An army marches on its stomach, after all.
Correct.
Very good. Guys, I think we're almost about to wrap up, but I'd just like to do one very quick thing, if you don't mind. Since this is our first year with like a full house, I might just take a very quick video for social media, if that's okay. Okay. Craig, do you want to call action?
What are we doing?
Don't worry, you would have said
Okay.
Craig, call action. Okay, Craig. Okay. Okay, wait. Okay, camera rolling.
Quiet on set. Camera set.
Camera set.
Action.
Yeah, we just finished up the Athlone Film Festival there. We got a decent crowd. No, we got an okay crowd. Well, actually, do you know what? I'll just show you. Hang on a sec. Yeah. And our filmmakers. Craig, Joe, Shane, Greg, Mags, and our beautiful crowd. Give us some of that.